All right, everyone. Steve M3TR1CS here of No DB8 SPORTS. Right now, today, I am flying a little bit solo. We are definitely a family show here at No DB8 SPORTS. And DJTRIGGS has some family commitments going on. And we're going to make the best we can of the show with myself. And he may be able to chime in with us a little bit later, but we're going to make the most of it. So, all right, so here we go. Like always, want to start out the show with kind of belts that I'm wearing. I am wearing a buckled down Roadrunner belt. Yeah, it's kind of powder bluish, but pretty cool belt. And definitely want to give a shout out to Buckle Down. They're definitely a company we're trying to make a little money with to begin with our journey. And if you want a cool belt like this, there's a link in our description of Buckle Down to show you what kind of belt it is. It's a Marvel superhero belt, pretty cool. And let me show you that right now. So here's what we're gonna show you. And boom, there it is. Definitely big fans of Marvel out there. You get the full Marvel heroes, villains. Pretty cool belt. Kind of reminds me of the old Marvel vs. Capcom arcade games back in the day. So pretty cool thing there. If you go ahead and click the link in our description, it'll take you straight to here to get this belt. And that'll definitely support us. So we're definitely figuring out ways to make some money in the future. But this is definitely our first effort at that. So if you like it, take a look. And yeah, definitely let us know. So pretty cool stuff there. But anyways, what do we have in the world of sports? Well, definitely you got some big time NBA stuff. TRIGGS made a really cool video. If you get a chance, see it on our YouTube channel, see it on our Facebook page of Damian Lillard, of where he has an opportunity to go. So definitely has that option to go to the Miami Heat. Has always been a team that's been placed out there. Yeah, you definitely need more shooters in this league. Pairing him up with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, you would have a really nice lineup there. I do know Boston has definitely had a lot of change, a lot of turnover on how they're developing their front court. Pretty much changing up almost everything outside of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So it would be kind of interesting to see if Dame Lillard would be a part of that. There are a little bit of hiccups with him going there, but it is what it is. And I know DJTRIGGS definitely would want to talk about how you have the perspective of him possibly joining the Milwaukee Bucks. That would be really cool to have another big-time shooter pairing him up with Chris Middleton. So that would be pretty cool there to see how that would work and what we can get out of that. But it is what it is. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. Also, we got some NBA Summer League action going on. Shoot, even right now in our studio, I'm looking at NBA Summer League action right now. Got some Oklahoma City Thunder against the Dallas Mavericks. And it's pretty cool seeing that with Oklahoma City getting a lot of Chet Holmgren. Last year, he missed all of last season with injury. Didn't really have much to play in with that. But now that he's back, you're kind of getting another preseason of Chet to get ready for the NBA career after playing a really strong career at Gonzaga. So it's pretty cool to see that going on. Oklahoma City is a really solid team, strong management. I want to say it's like Sam Purdy or something like that. But that general manager there has made very savvy draft picks. and has definitely made the most out of that team ever since the Sonics left Seattle and became the Oklahoma City Thunder. So pretty cool stuff there. Caught a little bit of the Milwaukee Bucks playing their summer league game yesterday against Denver. Another Gonzaga guy in Drew Timme playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. Seeing him, seeing who else? Tall guy Taco Fall, big time player at Central Florida. Nearly knocked out Zion Williamson 3-4 years ago when Duke came across Central Florida back in that March Madness tournament. And but yeah, Taco's been developing his pro game. Saw him on the Boston Celtics last year. Didn't really work out. So it's interesting to see him be an added piece to the Milwaukee Bucks and see more of that addition of size and height to what you have with Giannis and what you have with Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez. Definitely want to add more size to it. So it would be really cool to see Taco develop. But if not, I mean, having Drew Timme there as well is pretty solid. So you really got some good stuff there with the Milwaukee Bucks. But yeah, you got a lot of NBA Summer League action going on. You got games going on during the day. You got games going on into the night. So it's a pretty cool format they got out there in Vegas. So yeah, so a lot of stuff going on there. I guess we'll transition more to the NFL, more of my wheelhouse. So definitely there's been a lot of talk recently of DeAndre Hopkins and where he's been going to try to end up. So with DeAndre Hopkins, we've been seeing him definitely kind of flirting with the New England Patriots and some other teams. But I kind of want to go down some of these teams and really see if those teams would really be a fit or not. And definitely with the Patriots to begin with, I just don't see that working. To begin with, I just don't think Mac Jones is a good quarterback. He's just not. The turmoil they had last season with really wanting to go with Bailey Zappi, and Bailey Zappi was all right for a little bit. The fact that they did that already shows that it wasn't working. Granted, their offensive scheme did not make any sense at all. They had no true offensive coordinator, and it was what it was. But now they brought in Bill O'Brien, who used to be the former Texans head coach, which is why you see that correlation with DeAndre Hopkins. But I just don't think that would be a fit because of that. And also, if we really run the tape back to Bill O'Brien with the Texans and DeAndre Hopkins, that truly ended in a disaster, just a monumental disaster. The fact that Bill O'Brien was very upset at DeAndre Hopkins' life outside of football, and you can definitely look that up. But that's where that tension came between Bill O'Brien and DeAndre Hopkins. So it's just not a good situation that could go on there. I just don't see. And essentially, DeAndre Hopkins got traded for David Johnson, which ended up being a backup running back with, I think right now he's with the New Orleans Saints. But that trade really ended up to be nothing and essentially gave DeAndre Hopkins to the Arizona Cardinals. So I definitely don't see that being a fit. The other team that reminds me of the Patriots that we're starting to hear chatter with is the Tennessee Titans. And I think this would be more of almost like a selfish kind of reason, but I don't know. It's kind of like when you see an NBA player take a lot of money to go to a team and essentially just be the focal point, be that superstar on a team. And I just don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to do that. If he were to go to Tennessee flat out, he would be the number one wide receiver there. However, I feel their quarterback situation is as much of a mess as the Patriots. To me, Ryan Tannehill is clearly the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now, and especially of veteran quarterbacks. They're just not going to do anything. They are going to put as much of the offense on Derrick Henry and the new running back, Tajay Sharp, as much as they can, and really focus on that run game. And granted, Tennessee built a really good offensive line. They know what they're doing. But I just don't think that situation for DeAndre Hopkins would work in that offense, because you're really the only receiver there that's really going to get a lot of focus, and your quarterback situation is rough. And granted, Will Levis and Malik Willis behind Tannehill are going to step up and eventually going to get some time, but that would just not be a suitable situation for DeAndre Hopkins, who at this point really wants to win it all. He wants to be a Super Bowl winning player, and he absolutely deserves that. So now let's go to some teams where I think this guy could truly have some traction. And I do feel there's at least been discussions about it. Cleveland. Cleveland is definitely one that we have our article posted on our website. You see, oh, here we go. Yep, right there at NoDB8SPORTS.com. You can pull that up, and you can actually see what I think of DeAndre Hopkins in Cleveland. I think that would be a really strong situation because it is his former quarterback in Deshaun Watson. You put him in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, now DeAndre Hopkins at least becomes the number 2 receiver on that team. So you have Amari Cooper, who's definitely been playing better further into his career since leaving Dallas, since leaving the Raiders. Now Amari Cooper in Cleveland really is getting some really good chemistry with Deshaun Watson. You got Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's always been a really strong receiver outside, both for Baker Mayfield, Jacoby Brissett, and Deshaun Watson. So you got a nice receiving core there. Their tight ends, they have David Njoku. They just brought in big guy Jordan Akins from the Houston Texans, a guy, if you check out our Bonafide player tracker on our website, NoDB8Sports.com, you'll see that Cleveland has pretty nice weapons on offense. So if you bring in DeAndre Hopkins, maybe put him in the slot, keep Amari Cooper outside, keep Donovan Peoples-Jones outside as well, and put DeAndre Hopkins in the middle of the field, he's going to end up doing pretty well with that offense. And now you have a full season that goes by where Deshaun Watson can really get in sync with the offense that Kevin Stefanski wants to run. He loves running 12 personnel. They have a strong offensive line. They have strong pass protection. Cleveland would be a really good team for DeAndre Hopkins to go to because of that familiarity and because of the opportunity that exists with that offense. So I really like that option that Hopkins would have in Cleveland. The other team, and this is where it gets interesting. I definitely want to do a little more research into what's going on with the cap situation of this team. I don't know it off the top of my head. If someone could chime in with the show, we would totally love to hear about that. But the team that I think DeAndre Hopkins could make a killing on, and it would be a team that, like, yes, he would be almost that third wide receiver piece, but you put him in the slot, and the way I break it down is if you're in the slot, you are the number 1 slot receiver. It is almost a position in itself. And that team, I think he would make an absolute killing for. If this team isn't already the favorite to pretty much win it all, and at least win it all in their own conference, this team would be even more of a strong favorite after acquiring DeAndre Hopkins. And to me, that would be the Philadelphia Eagles. You add DeAndre Hopkins to the Philadelphia Eagles, and you put him in the slot. You keep A.J. Brown outside. You keep Devontae Smith on the other side. And man, that would be a heck of an offense. I think Jalen Hurts would have all sorts of crazy weapons. The one thing that I've noticed with Hurts's passing game, and this is more of a reflection of the Nick Sirianni offense, is there really hasn't been a true middle of the receiver target. Plus, last year there wasn't much of Dallas Goedert because of injury, so you never really had that tight end working the middle of the field. And right now, on their depth chart, you see it on our fantasy tracker as well. It is Quez Watkins, who to me is more of a go route kind of receiver. So that's a guy that pretty much you just want him to go. He will make huge catches downfield. Pretty much in a game, he could have like 2 catches for 60, 70 yards and a score. And that is good enough to have a really good day for you in fantasy and both for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I see him being more of like a change of pace kind of receiver, almost like blanking on the name, but was it Deshaun? Man, blanking on the guy, but he was a short receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles a long time ago, and that guy just ran crazy downfield. So I think he'd be more of a change of pace for the outside receivers, whereas you have a fully established DeAndre Hopkins middle of the field slot receiver, and I think that would be really, really cool. So yeah, that'd be a pretty interesting thing to happen there. So here we go. We got James Hack chiming in with us. So good to have you here, James. So yeah, let's talk a little more football. So what do we have here that James is presenting is obviously I am definitely a Raider fan, and there's good things we have on our team, but there are definitely things that are a little rough. So James wants to know who do I think will have a better win-loss record next season? The home state here that I reside in, Wisconsin, and the Green Bay Packers, or my team, the Las Vegas Raiders. And yeah, kind of going back to what I started with the turmoil of the New England Patriots and what they got going on and that Patriot way. I'm definitely going to have to swing to the Green Bay Packers. And let's start on the dark side, and then we'll lighten the mood with why I see Green Bay having a better win-loss record. And I see things with the Raiders being rough. It feels like this is almost a trust the process tanking scenario. We know that Devontae Adams definitely has some resentment towards the upper management of the Raiders right now. And he lost his quarterback in Derek Carr. So he's gone. And he did not manage to bring Aaron Rodgers to the Raiders. So that didn't work either. So now they essentially have Jimmy Garoppolo, who, in my eyes, is at the end of the day, pretty much an equal to your output, to your end results that Derek Carr provides. But you're only going to have Jimmy Garoppolo for half the price that a Derek Carr would cost. So I feel that you're going to see the Raiders almost tank in a way. So they have the ability to move up to really get one of the highest draft quarterbacks of next season. You either want Caleb Williams, obviously the number 1 overall draft pick, or you're trying to get Duke May out of North Carolina. So that's kind of where I think things are going with the Raiders. There's also some resentment that Josh Jacobs has towards the franchise tag that's been placed on him, and him wanting to make possibly a Le'Veon Bell statement that he wants to see running backs get paid more. So if there's no Josh Jacobs, I think Devontae Adams is a guy who just balls out no matter who his quarterback is. And we saw that out of, ironically, DeAndre Hopkins as well, that you give these guys just the ball in their hand and they're going to make something out of it. So I think that there's some weird things going on there. I like the improvements that are going on defense with the Raiders, drafting Tyree Wilson, having awesome Mad Max Crosby rushing outside the edge. We still have Chandler Jones. Our secondary is developing, is getting better. I like our defense, but the thing I've always said is if your offense cannot stay on the field, then your defense is going to come back onto the field. They're going to get fatigued and they're going to give up points. So that is exactly why I don't like the future that I'm seeing with the Raiders. Is this offense seems a little choppy. We really can't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to stay healthy. The player they drafted for our backup quarterback out of Purdue, I don't know. I always want Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That's a guy that I feel like can have a really excellent NFL career moving forward. Plus, that guy ironically is in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson, and he can definitely learn from Deshaun there. So I like that. But here's actually, you know what? We're gonna go back to Philadelphia. So here's what we got. We know that from James that the Philadelphia Eagles have $13 million in cap space. So it seems like to acquire DeAndre Hopkins, I want to say that price is about 15 million for a season. Then there is 54 million in dead cap space, and just like James, I do not fully understand dead cap space, however that works. But what I know is if Philadelphia can figure out maybe a few extra $1 million for DeAndre Hopkins, I think that is definitely a serious team to truly acquire DeAndre Hopkins. I do think that's happening, and it would be interesting to see if have there been moves by Philadelphia to either renegotiate contracts or have they just outright cut certain players recently. If that's the case, then to me that really starts to signal that they have been pursuing DeAndre Hopkins or possibly keeping things open and looking at other free agents who are clearly out there who they are trying to add. To me, even Philadelphia, their run game, I wouldn't fully support it. Basically, their whole running back tandem is centralized around DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny. Neither of those guys can stay healthy. So that's where I'm a little concerned at how Philadelphia is going to operate that offense. If those guys go down, and when they go down, they go down quickly. They do have Kenneth Gainwell, and they also have the Giant Slayer in Boston Scott. I love that guy. That guy's a small, hard-hitting running back. That guy's pretty cool. But to have that versatile 2 to 3 down back, I do think they do need to figure it out. So possibly maybe even a Dalvin Cook would be a strong option. We've heard about Ezekiel Elliott possibly being connected to that team. But I don't know. I mean, they do have a strong offensive line. They will absolutely be able to run the ball. But having faith in those two running backs of DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny, I can't fully guarantee that. So that's where I feel that the Eagles possibly making a move for DeAndre Hopkins would probably be the strongest play they can make. So I really like that. All right. So let's go back to why I like the Packers to have a strong season next year. The thing I like about Green Bay is in that division, they definitely have at least the best or the second best defense in the entire division. Chicago is really an up and coming team. They are definitely making strong free agent moves, bringing in Tremaine Edmonds from Buffalo. They have drafted very well in this past draft. And I do like the direction that Chicago is going. But when I look at the overall defense is in general, and just how they were last season and still making good selections in this year's draft, Green Bay is the best defense. Detroit and Minnesota are miles behind. And always on my theory of how defenses in the NFL work, I do feel that there's 30 pretty good defenses out there. Now, if their offenses can stay on the field and give their defenses rest, then those defenses are really going to show that they are better. but Minnesota and Detroit are truly bad defenses. Look at, I mean, even the very first game that Detroit played against Philadelphia, that was a 30, 40 point shootout on both sides, and Detroit lost that game. They win that game. They are in the playoffs. Then you look at Minnesota, and Minnesota had some very wild games last season, and they also had the most miraculous uh, falling apart in a game of last season against, I want to say that was the Indianapolis Colts. So yeah, there were just many games with Minnesota and Detroit where, granted, those offenses can hang a lot of points, but they also give up a lot of points on defense. So I like Green Bay's ability to play all three phases of the game very efficiently. You got Rich Bisaccia working special teams, but on offense, they can run the ball well. They have strong receiving targets. Granted, they're young, but yeah, Christian Watson is awesome. That is a guy that you're gonna really see dividends for him if you draft him in your fantasy league. And then Romeo Doubs is pretty good. Definitely had his injuries last season that definitely played a part. And then bringing in Jaden Reed from Michigan State to play the slot. That's pretty strong. And I love Luke Musgrave. So to me, that is a future George Kittle. That is a very strong tight end that I think is truly going to start making himself noticed this year in his rookie season. I thought it was pretty interesting. I came across a tweet. If you see it on my Twitter for at STEVE M3TR1CS, you will see that tight ends pretty much develop. They mainly develop in their second year, and they can definitely develop in their first year. But they tend to, if they don't really hit in their first or second years, then they're not really going to be a truly big, impactful tight end ever in their career. So it's very rare after the second year that they really take off. So I think Green Bay put themselves in a very good situation drafting two tight ends to really start this draft after Robert Tonyan left, and you really need to fill that hole in that offense. So you got that. We're going to see Jordan Love. We're going to really see what he's made of, and I like it. I just from me noticing what he played last season, his development, his footwork, his poise in the pocket. To me, seeing that growth from the preseason to the end of the preseason to the few times he played in the regular season, really improved. And if you want to check out my YouTube breakdown of Jordan Love, you're going to see that he actually had 2/3 less snaps this season than he did back in 2021. So with even having less volume and having nearly twice as good of a production, Jordan Love is really setting himself up for success. And like nothing's really changed. He still has the head coach of the Green Bay Packers there. Granted, the offensive coordinators like Nathaniel Hackett have gone to either to Denver and now the Jets, and those pieces have moved around. But the main thing for Jordan Love is that he doesn't need to learn a new offense. You don't need a new coordinator coming in and essentially learn a new language. The fact that Jordan Love has coaches that he's already familiar with, that he already understands the terminology and the schemes and the concepts that are in place, are really going to benefit Jordan Love and give him that comfort. So now he can really start building the chemistry with others, and especially with a hard hitting tight end like Luke Musgrave. So I really like what they got there. Just having that whole balance on defense, offense, and the improvements that Green Bay has made on special teams, to me makes it evident that they are going to really hit on all three phases of the game, and they are going to be a strong team this season. So I see Green Bay, especially being in the NFC, being a playoff team. I actually do see them winning the division. I just don't think Detroit can hang on defense. And I really do question how much of Detroit is really going to be good this season, considering that your awesome wide receiver again is going to be missing games. Essentially, like what going from last season of all 18 to now the first 6 games here, he's going to have missed 23 of the first possible 24 games that he can play in his career. So to me, that's concerning. Amon-Ra St. Brown is amazing, absolutely amazing wide receiver. But then you lost both of your running backs from last season, and you traded your amazing bona fide tight end, who to me is going to show up and be the best tight end in football this season in TJ Hawkinson. You sent him to another team in your own division, and that guy is going to absolutely want to ball out every single time he plays you guys. And on top of that, you also play indoors. So whether it's in Minnesota or Detroit, TJ Hawkinson is always going to have ideal playing conditions for when he plays up against Detroit. So I just don't see Detroit. They're going to have to figure it out on offense. It's going to be a little different. You've lost several key pieces. I love Jahmyr Gibbs though. That guy will probably, in my eyes, I would absolutely consider him as a rookie of the year candidate. I think right now the odds for him to win rookie of the year are about plus 800. So shoot, $10 bets here and there. Maybe that turns into $80 each time you do that, but who knows? But just the overall play style of Jahmyr Gibbs, for especially all the Packer fans out there, seeing what you see in Aaron Jones, that's definitely what you're going to get out of Jahmyr Gibbs, and a little bit of power, especially being one of those hard-hitting Alabama running backs. So granted, I don't like the vision that Detroit had as a team when they really have these openings that they need to address on defense. But the fact that they still got Jahmyr Gibbs, to me, really helps. Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely going to be better than DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. But still, like, okay, granted, they brought in David Montgomery. That's okay. That's solid. But I don't know, just that receiving core, and Jared Goff is stepping up. He is becoming a better quarterback straight up, and especially even outdoors, he's playing better as well. But not having TJ Hawkinson, not having Jameson Williams, to me, that's it's gonna be a little tough. That's definitely going to be a tough way to start the season. And then how does that chemistry work into the season? And definitely we know kind of the back end of their schedule is pretty tough. You have multiple games against the Vikings. I know Dallas is in there somewhere. I want to say Denver is also on their schedule, playing at Denver. So they got some things going on. But that's where I like the ability for Green Bay to just play pretty much all complete 3 phases of the game. But the sneaky part of this is Chicago. Seeing how Chicago could kind of improve on defense with the moves that Ryan Pace has made as a general manager. And definitely, to me, Justin Fields is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And you will continue to see that this season on top of the amazing games he played last season. So they definitely will have the best quarterback in the division. And how does that transpire with the other pieces of the Bears? We're going to see. We're going to learn that offense as it goes. They do need to improve on their running game. Now, former Green Bay tight end Robert Tonyan is there with Cole Kmet. So they do have a nice tight end tandem there. Definitely good options for 12 personnel. But what they have in their receiving core is very impressive. Now you have Darnell Mooney truly becoming the true slot receiver there after they bring in Chase Claypool, who, granted, they have their concerns with personality. But the ability that I saw last season in Chase Claypool and really developing Justin Fields as a quarterback, and even in Pittsburgh before he got traded, the way Chase Claypool was really starting to build that chemistry with Kenny Pickett was pretty impressive as well. So that's a really strong receiver, and he's actually going to be your number 2 wide receiver for the Chicago Bears is pretty impressive. And then they bring in DJ Moore from Carolina, who has not really had a quarterback at all, but has played very, very well to start his career. to me is really impressive. So I really like the options that Carolina has in DJ Moore. So that's a sneaky team. That is a sneaky team that you're going to see with Chicago. For all the people out there playing fantasy football, I would definitely really start to look at players in general that are in the NFC North and the AFC West. This is a year where those two divisions will cross paths. So every team in each of those divisions will play the other divisional teams 4 times. And on top of that, those teams will play the teams within their conference 6 times. So you're pretty much getting 10 out of your 17 game schedule, over half of your schedule is going to be against those NFC North and AFC West teams if you are one of those 8 teams. So you look in the West of the AFC, pretty much your only really good defense out there is Denver, if they can stay on the field on offense. And I think Sean Payton is going to start to turn that around. And when he turns around teams, he turns them around pretty quick. He did that in New Orleans after coming from Dallas. And granted, Denver kind of wonky, but they got pieces in place. Back when I was talking about tight ends in their second year of development and really making a name for themselves, they have one in Greg Dulcich. To me, Greg Dulcich, just like Luke Musgrave in Green Bay, is one of those George Kittle archetypes of a tight end. So I like that there. Russell Wilson always loves to throw to tight ends, no matter who they are, whether it's Will Dissly, Greg Dulcich, or Jimmy Graham. He's going to find his guys. So I do feel that is going to happen. Plus, they're getting back KJ Hamler. They're getting back guys there. Their running back that went down last season, Javonte Williams, he's coming back. Then you also bring in Samaje Perine from the Cincinnati Bengals. They really got some nice things going on with that offense. So I like Denver. But again, that's the one defense you can really count on. Chargers kind of have their thing, but they also have a head coach that does weird play calling decisions on offense. So I'm not a fan of that. Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City is a very strong defensive coordinator, but that team pretty much likes to go all out. They thrive on chaos from the quarterback they go after. If that quarterback really is flustered, panics, typically young quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, then they're really going to have their way and thrive. Especially when you had Justin Herbert starting there, and Justin Herbert got banged up as well. And it is what it is. And then, like I said, what about the Raiders not being able to stay on the field as well? They're going to have more edge pressure, but I just think they're going to get fatigued because the offense can't stay out there. So I have questions with the AFC West. And then in the NFC North, we know that Minnesota is a bad defense. We know Detroit's a bad defense. And Chicago is working its way up. So how long does it take for Chicago to really kind of be one of those better defenses? And Green Bay is pretty much a good defense in its own right. Maybe not great, but at least bare minimum an average kind of defense moving forward. So you look at those teams in fantasy, and you look at like the Detroit Lions, you look at the Minnesota Vikings, who are going to be playing in absolute shootouts. Get those Vikings players, get those Detroit Lions players, get those Green Bay Packers, and shoot. I mean, if you're starting out your draft, you really got to make a serious look at Travis Kelce. Granted, his staying power of trying to make it through all 17 games of the season might end up really coming to the forefront, but still at least having that option to have just a truly strong tight end that is truly distinguished from nearly every other player that plays that position, and playing against a schedule, like I said, that is not the strongest in terms of defense. You look at that way late in your draft. Well, I don't know how late, considering how I've seen the guy play. But you're looking at a Quentin Johnson, a rookie wide receiver for the LA Chargers, who's got that Devontae Williams build. He's got that Terrell Owens, DK Metcalf kind of body. and you know that Keenan Allen and you know that Mike Williams aren't the healthiest kind of guys out there. And shoot, that's why people were kind of raving about Josh Palmer last season. Is you want that kind of big wide receiver to kind of step in and really take the bull by the reins and be that next up and coming wideout for that team. And it just never really happened with Palmer. It had some blips, but it never truly developed. So getting Quentin Johnson, who to me, I mean, my goodness, you look at that draft last year and I mean this year, and seeing the size of him, seeing the whole reach and length of Jackson Smith and Jigba, like those are guys. Those are real guys that are going to make a name for themselves this year. And you just want those pieces. Just truly look through these offenses, use our fantasy depth tracker, and look at the AFC West teams and the NFC North teams and really figure out like which of those big name players or even those players that have opportunity to grow, can you make something out of those players for your fantasy lineup? You can get good values out of these players. And I mean, shoot, even Jameson Williams for the Detroit Lions, there's something there. There is truly cool talent. Seeing how he played in that final game against the Green Bay Packers, like there's something there. Getting another tight end for your team to possibly back up a Travis Kelce and have maybe a Luke Musgraves there, maybe even go to the Raiders, my Raiders, and get a Michael Mayer, literally from Halloween. That is our guy. But Michael Mayer is, to me, like a Rob Gronkowski archetype. So you could get 3 awesome tight ends, all from either the NFC North or the AFC West. Just build your roster, get 3 of them. Maybe you're playing some best ball fantasy football, and you got that. And even in best ball, like look at a Kirk Cousins. And yeah, granted, we all know Kirk Cousins for who he is in the primetime games. But man, that's a guy that he's going to be in shootouts every single weekend, and he plays indoors. So you got some really good options that you can see there with those NFC North and AFC West players for sure. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of fantasy football. What else? I think we're gonna start wrapping it up here. Yeah. So one thing before we kind of start wrapping it up, I also have in our video description. I also have a link for Amazon Prime. Next week is Prime Week, and yeah, outside of here, my day job is keeping the lights on at a Amazon facility. So I know that Prime Week is right around the corner. So if you click our link, there is a 30-day free trial with Amazon Prime. All sorts of products you can buy through Amazon. You have very quick shipping on some of those products. What else you got? You also get Amazon Music. I like it, and as you can see with our background here, I love dark mode for anything I do on a computer. And having in the palm of your hand, having Amazon Music compared to Apple Music, I can tell you everything is in dark mode. And they absolutely have the full capabilities of every music that's out there, just like Apple. So Amazon can do it just as well as they can. What else? Oh, and you also got some Amazon shows out there, Amazon movies, whatnot. You get all that. You get all of that with Amazon Prime. So it's not too bad. I think it's about $15 a month, right around that range. But you can try it out for 30 days. You got Prime Week coming up, and take a look at that. So click that link in our video description, and that'll also help us out make a little bit of money to start our business here at No Debate Sports. So that's that. I guess what we got coming up this week, I'll be doing a little bit more about some defenses. I did something on 4th of July about the Dallas Cowboys trying to stay in theme. I got some other defenses that I'm looking at for your fantasy drafts that you really don't want to draft early. But these defenses have a really good schedule They have really good pace of play on offense, and you're going to be able to draft them when you want. I'm not one of those people who likes to wait till the very end of a draft, but I'm also not one of those people who likes to just be with the whole rest of the bunch and draft a defense in the middle when everyone else is drafting all these defenses. Last year, going into the draft, there were only 2 defenses I looked at. I looked at the Dallas Cowboys, who I just did my video about, and I felt they were going to be the best defense in the NFL. But my concern with Dallas was that I would have to draft them in the middle of a fantasy draft. The other defense I looked at, and I was like, all right, I can easily wait on this team. There are insiders talking left and right about this team, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles. I knew that if I let everyone else draft their defenses, I could take Philadelphia, and I did that in round 12. So I got them. And the interesting thing that I've noticed, and I will bring this up in other videos and articles that I've mentioned, is you want a good defense that definitely has a good offense. So we saw that with Philadelphia last year, and even the year before that, we saw it with Buffalo. So it's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool to almost pair your quarterback with the exact same defense that is on that team. And after seeing that kind of happen with Buffalo, I did that with Philadelphia last season, and it totally paid dividends because when your defense is as good as Philadelphia or Dallas was last season, and you pair that up with your high-end quarterback, it's almost like you're playing a 2-quarterback league. It's pretty cool to have those kind of pieces. So I really like that. Yeah, and we'll start to be doing some more fantasy football strategy. We are definitely getting into July, and definitely come August, you really have your drafts really starting to pick up steam. And we definitely want to be able to have those tools out there and really break down those tools for you and really show you those tools on screen. So I'm still getting familiar with playing with things on screen, like you saw earlier with our buckle down belts. And yeah, I can show you guys that again, just to kind of give you a feel of what's going on there. And yeah, here we go. Yeah, so there's that belt again. But yeah, we're definitely going to be playing around with more stuff like this, and I want to show you more graphics like this moving forward, so you can really get a feeling for what I'm talking about, especially when it comes to terms of strategy and really creating your fantasy football playbook of your fantasy football puzzle. So it's like you got a playbook puzzle that you're going to work with for your fantasy football drafts. So got a lot going on here, and we'll definitely be working with DJTRIGGS, give you some more NBA content, give you everything you're looking for. So hey, thanks again for watching. Thanks again, James Hack, for chiming in and definitely giving us more content during the show. I'm Steve M3TR1CS. That's no debate.